With a yo-ho-ho, it's TaleOfTheToaster. Welcome to another episode in my thoughts on Inazuma 11 Ares. I was trying to kind of point at the laptop there, but I somewhat bit. Next episode of Scorbunny. So now we're on episode 5, and this one gets underway in a pretty interesting way already because we've obviously had quite a lot of Sonny and Ryman focus in general over the past couple of episodes. But this time we're actually going to have a look at Polestar Academy instead and focus on the daily life of Elliot Ember. He's like the one guy with a cool hair design in a class full of generic looking people, but Polestar Academy itself, it looks super lush. You know, if you thought Royal was posh and evil, then this is just posh and posh. It's a big old school, but Elliot finishes his day of class and then walks out to see his teammates, and this is where we kind of learn that there's a bit of dissent between them all. They're not really getting on, because it's kind of revealed that Elliot doesn't play in all the matches that he's asked to, and obviously that makes things difficult for his teammates who are relying on him. If they're not going to have Elliot, then that's going to mess with their synergy somewhat. But Mr. Captain Reese pops out and he has a bit of a word and somewhat sticks up for him, if anything. Like, he's saying, well, if he doesn't need to play, then I guess not. It's not a good thing, but it is what it is. We'll cope. We can't cope with Elliot not being on the team like the other teammates are suggesting. We need to keep this guy around because he's good, and he's probably got plot armor if he's good enough to open an episode of the show. So, yeah, it's just nice to see them chat and get a little bit of individual focus on the actual captain of Polestar Academy instead of just taking a look at Elliot. So, good start before we even got the intro song. I think the main takeaway from it was everyone on Polestar was kind of suggesting that Elliot plays worse against weaker teams, as though he was some kind of competitive gamer that just kind of sandbags on the weak opponents to go for the style points. But I don't quite think it's that in this case of Inazuma 11 Ares. No, and Akaris also kind of asks, why do you play football? And just gives the most standard, because I love football answer. And it's like, what more can you expect him to say, really? He is on a football team, but yeah, I'm sure we'll discuss his real motives probably within this episode. So we cut back to Sonny for a little bit. Of course, we've got to have our main character in the episode at some point, but he's not going to be a big focus for this episode at all, and that's good. It shows that they're willing to put the focus elsewhere. We see him in a scene that still involves Elliot. He's gone to some other town to pick up some sports towels for Mr. Yi. Yet again, clearly a deliberate setup. This coach has got some eyes in strange places. But yeah, Sonny walks past the arcade. I'm immediately wanting to start quoting Eurovision as soon as I've said that out loud. But Sonny goes to the arcade and notices that Elliot Ember's in there. So, you know, we're both football players who've played against each other. Why not go in for a chat? You don't really want to chat with Elliot Ember because he just hurls a bunch of insults at Sonny because, oh, we won the game. You were pathetic. You can't even hold a candle to Polestar Academy. Only one of those things was something he actually said, just calling him pathetic. But, you know, it's what you'd expect from Elliot. But what you don't expect is just playing some crane game, trying to win a teddy. And it's already kind of weird seeing the image of this. I've got hair in front of my face and you're pathetic and soccer is a means of power or whatever it is. And he's just playing a crane game to win some teddy, and the weirdest part is he actually wins. Like, Inazuma writers, have you ever tried winning a crane game? Like, it's not easy. Like, there you go. That's how it goes all of the time. I go for my plush. I mean, all right, personal story. There was one time I managed to win a crane game. It wasn't for this. This was just a Christmas present that I happened to have in the room. I won like a Yoshi plush. I think it was going for a Wario, but just in the theme park, and I went to go and pick up the Yoshi, and as with all crane games, it was too heavy for the crane to pick up. What instead happened was I kind of knocked it to the side, and then there was no barrier between that crane game and the other one. So I knocked the Yoshi into the other crane game and then it fell into the hole. And, I've still got that. That's a good memory. But Elliot just does it properly. He wins this teddy and it looks kind of weird, and Scorbunny's done a runner. I guess he's done for this episode. Yeah. But what does he need it for? I'm sure we'll find out in just a moment. And when I say later in the episode, I mean now, of course, because the funny part is, right, so Elliot's gone to hospital with this teddy. He's not ill or anything, he's just doing a visit. But the funny thing is, he's being followed or noticed by Basil Hardy. It's like, this guy just cannot get away from anyone today. He's in class, he's finally gotten out. Even Coach Travis was watching from like the window when he was leaving school. Then he gets confronted by his Polestar teammates. Then he gets confronted by Sonny Wright. And even when he's going to the hospital, the one place he actually properly wanted to go that day, even just the fire tornado guy from Ryman's just spying on him, he just can't catch a break. But nevertheless, he goes into one of the wards and he's taking his little teddy with him, and he gives it to this girl who we later learn is called Faith Winter. She's not actually named for quite a little bit, but he puts the teddy down, sits it in front of this young girl, and said, "You like this stuff, right?" If you've been visiting her for this long and giving gifts, you should probably know by now, Elliot, but introductory lines in an anime, they are what they are. But she can't talk, is the notable thing. Only Elliot and spying Basil are the ones talking before we go straight into a flashback. And this is when we immediately learn more about what this girl is, because she can't say it for herself. She's clearly mute at the moment. So we have a little flashback of when they were both kids. So we've only just started having grown-up Elliot episodes, but we're already getting young Elliot as well. I think he's voiced by Nagisa and Maki from Danganronpa. I don't know the actual voice actress's name, but I mean specifically as a kid, the voices are similar there. And yeah, Faith's just this happy girl who checks up on Elliot. They get to know each other, riding bikes. There's a funny part where Elliot's just like holding a lobster by the claws. I don't have a lobster on me. I've just picked up something with the colour red on it. He's just dangling this lobster in front of her face and she just doesn't care. It's quite funny. It's a sweet little scene showing how he's made a childhood friend. But it can't last very long. She moves away to some school called Ares. And now it's like, finally, the title. We now know that Ares has some kind of significance. Look at Scorbunny just defeated under Aaron. Are you okay? We'll check up on you in a bit, but I'm really getting off topic here. The point is, yes, she goes to some school called Ares, really happy. Elliot's like, I might have to visit you sometime. And that's when she returns in a wheelchair, completely mute and unable to talk, and it's all a bit sad, and it just cuts back to the modern day, and she must have spent like 6 or 7 years like this, and maybe even more, and yeah, it's a little bit sad. We don't quite understand the significance of it yet, but somehow it's motivating Elliot to play football, so good for him, I guess. One thing I would like to say about it, though, is that the character being called Faith is not entirely original for Inazuma standards, because we've had these kind of young girls being motivational characters in the plots before, and of course in Inazuma 11 Go, when you have Wan Lee's chapter about being bullied as a kid and hanging out with his friend, male friend Harold, and his female friend Faith, yeah, we're having the name Faith again. It's a different spelling, I guess, and obviously I get the meaning. It's about having faith and hope. It's always a good choice for that kind of supporting character, but yeah, it's not the first Faith in Inazuma history to fill this kind of role. This one's Faith Winter, so don't confuse with Faith whatever she's got. But the gist of it is, Elliot is basically playing football to get revenge on something called the Scales of Ares. And we have another little flashback when he's a bit older, you know, maybe a couple of years before the events of the season, but a more grown-up Elliot watches like a TV ad from some guy talking about the Scales of Ares educational program. So finally we know what Ares is. And yeah, it's all about training kids to excel in whatever their talent is, and he shows a practical example with football of how they're training up these kids to be really good at football, and then he's like, I can use this as a means of revenge. After they trained Faith and she lost the ability to walk and talk for reasons we don't know in great detail at this point. But yeah, so Elliot's doing football for revenge, and already the entire Ryman team is aware of this because Basil was just spying on him in the hospital and then tells the entire team. It's like, you could have just had that in the back. They didn't need to know yet. But they do. So I guess that's a look at the guy as well who's actually running Scales of Ares. He looks pretty villainous, might it be said. I don't think I'm really defying anyone's expectations in saying that one. But the big thing here now is that Elliot is actually getting ready to play in the next match after all. He said he wasn't going to, but now he is. And Polestar has already faced Ryman, so it can't be that. What are we going to see them take on? They're actually taking on Kirkwood Junior High. The same actual lineup from in Season 1 of Inazuma 11, just with their mentor put back in, Axel Blaze. Honestly, one of the most wasted slots of a mentorship. I think we'll probably talk about this more in the next episode, but yeah, you know, Jude being on Polestar, that's cool, and Jack being on Rampart Junior High, that's cool, but Axel just returns to Kirkwood, and it's like, right, he's not really learning anything new here. But what I really like, probably my favourite bit of the episode, or at least it's up there, we see Axel give an actual media interview with a genuine reporter live on television about the upcoming match with Polestar and how he intends to deal with Elliot. There's like reporters, photographers, everything. It really makes the tournament feel like a big deal. It's not just some tournament that the kids were doing in an after-school club like it could have been for the actual first game, first season. No, this is a big televised event, and Axel Blaze is kind of a celebrity at this point, and he intends to take down Polestar Academy, so we'll see what Elliot and his mates can do. Don't forget about Aka Reese, he's the captain, you know, and Jude. They've got quite a lot, really. Speaking of those players, where are they actually going to be playing in the match? We have a little scene to explain that kind of stuff. On behalf of Coach Travis, who isn't there, Jude kind of sets the team roster for the match. So, you know, he's going to be a midfielder, as you would expect. But the main thing of significance, Elliot Ember is going to be playing in goal. He's the goalkeeper for the match, and I did not see this coming at all. The fact that we were going to get kind of a matchup between two non-Ryman teams anyway, that alone was a surprise. I didn't at this point have the guarantee we were going to see the full match, but I was happy enough having Polestar versus Kirkwood. To put Elliot in goal, that is very adventurous. But I'm up for it. The rest of the team aren't. You know, the actual goalkeeper, Mickey Way, is pretty offended about it. And it's not something he's especially talented in, per se. But, you know, he's only just agreed to play in the match. I wouldn't be surprised if he just 180'd back out of there again. But he will actually be fulfilling the role. Elliot heads to the pitch for the match. He will be playing in goal. Jude has a bit of a casual conversation with Axel again. Who's quite, by the way, voiced by Nate Wants to Battle, the YouTuber who's turned into a proper professional voice actor. It's a great bit of trivia, that. And yeah, genuinely, although there's only a couple minutes of the episode left, we are actually going to start the match between Polestar Academy and Kirkwood. Granted, Aka Reese thinks this is a bit of a ploy. Travis is now here to fulfill his role as the coach in person. And Aka Reese just straight up goes up to him and asks, are you trying to get Elliot kicked off the team? I know he's a troublemaker, but yeah, putting him in goal so that he can embarrass himself and lose. Is this how you're going to get him removed? And as usual, if you know Coach Travis, then you know he's not going to give any kind of response back. So the match must get underway, and as you would expect, he's going to have to try and stop a shot already, because The Murdoch brothers returning for Kirkwood. They don't say a single line, so we're yet to see if they've retained those wonderful German accents. But they pass the ball straight up the pitch, and then they're not going to be the main striker today. That's got to be Axel, and he gets a real fire tornado coming. None of that Basil Hardy stuff. He's just watching in admiration. We get to see the big deal, the main Axel Blaze doing the fire tornado, and he fires it towards the goal. And it turns out it was actually a bit of a fake shot. He put no power into it, and the two defenders of Polestar managed to stop it, while Elliot just falls to his feet and just resigns in defeat. But that's a good trick. We'll probably understand a bit more of Axel's motives in it next time, but for now, Elliot's just looking a bit pathetic as Heath Moore judges him from the crowd, and then the episode comes to an end. But that's it, so just a little bit of football at the end of the match. The main thing is giving backstory for Elliot Ember, using a lot of supporting characters like Jude Sharp, Aka Reese, a limited amount of Sonny Wright and Basil Hardy. I think this was a great episode. Obviously we get Faith in there as a supporting character as well, more of a motive, if you will. But yeah, this really just takes characters that we hadn't properly used yet, puts them in situations, and then gives us the start of an extremely exciting match at the end. The next episode will be a full showdown of the match between Polestar Academy and Kirkwood Junior High, which is great fun because who's gonna win? You don't know at this point. But we'll have to find out in the next episode. So I've been TaleOfTheToaster. Thanks for watching. Yet another great episode, but the next one is probably one of my favourites of the whole series. So look forward to that one. And bye-bye.